Tell me, how about you?
What a dreamboat! So hot!
Here we are, once again, criticizing these anime characters for how they use their funny little creatures in battle. Now I gotta address something real quick. In the last one, some of y'all got a little upset, telling me that this is pointless and my analysis sucks because you can't compare the games to the anime.
Well, that wasn't necessary at all. That was just mean.
I more or less said that myself in the video, guys. This is just for fun. But we're gonna set some ground rules here to make this a little less confusing. In the games, Pokemon can only have 4 moves. In the anime, this is not a thing. Pokemon will use more than 4 moves in a battle. It just happens, so we're gonna play it as if they can use whatever moves they can possibly learn at that time. This also goes for egg moves. Egg moves aren't really a thing in the anime. Oh, Charizard can't learn Belly Drum because it's an egg move? Well, Pikachu knows Volt Tackle, so. And again, this is just for fun. I'm not the greatest competitive player in the world. The Pokemon anime is goofy by nature, none of this is scientific. If you take this too seriously, then I'm gonna laugh at you. This is supposed to be nitpicky. You don't have to tell me. Although feel free to, as comments are good for the algorithm. One last thing, I had to do some wacky stuff to the footage in the last episode. I'm gonna try to use less clips this time around, as well as making them shorter to try to avoid, this. But if you see Goku hitting the gritty, you'll know why. With all that being said, let's get into this. We're sticking with Gen 3 for this one with another episode in the Battle Frontier arc. In this one, Ash battles Joe Jonas, or Justin Timberlake, or Harry Styles, I don't know, just insert whatever male pop star teenage girls find hot, and that's basically what Tucker is. All these girls lose their minds over him because nothing screams heartthrob like this fit. Is this an intimidation tactic or something, or is he just having a good time? But how good is Tucker in battle? What sort of wacky shenanigans will these two get up to? And can we give Ash some advice to make this battle go better for him?
Loser! You're a loser!
Thanks to the All Blue Does Exist 716 for the recommendation. Let's see what happens. So this battle is a little different in that it is a double battle. If you know me, you know I'm a huge fan of the Pokemon GameCube games, and those were almost exclusively focused on double battles. So I'm all for this. This is fun to me. And Tucker absolutely comes out swinging with these two fan favorite powerhouses, Swampert and Arcanine.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
In general, it's kinda difficult to have perfect synergy when you can only have 2 Pokemon, but this isn't bad. Swampert is 4 times weak to grass, but Arcanine is there to scare off those grass types. Arcanine is weak to rock and ground, which Swampert can eat for breakfast, so they do complement each other quite well, all things considered. You also have options with these two. You can run them defensively or offensively. They are good for both, so I'm interested to see what Tucker's doing here. In the last battle we analyzed, I got some comments letting me know that Ash was kinda stuck using his Kanto Pokemon due to some plot elements. That's all fine and good, but here they specifically tell Ash that he can pull any of the Pokemon he wants, including those who aren't currently in his party.
You may even have Pokemon transported here if you wish.
So of all these choices, who is he going to pick?
Swordfish, Swallow, I choose you!
Hey, why?
Are you a real person or are you AI?
I can kinda see where Ash is coming from with Swellow at least. Especially in the early days when double battles were a new thing, using spread moves was kinda the go-to tactic. You could argue that's still the case, but if you played Coliseum or XD, then you know how often Earthquake in particular was used in double battles. Swampert is a very good user of Earthquake, so having a flying type that'll negate that is a good idea. Swampert uses Earthquake, Arcanine uses Protect, which means only one of Ash's Pokemon is gonna take a hit. That is obviously still not ideal, but depending on Ash's second choice, this can be mitigated. Unfortunately, Ash picked a crawfish.
She told me put my heart in the bag.
Yeah, Swellow isn't the best pick in the world, but it isn't the worst one either. Corphish, on the other hand, is kinda just dead weight. Corphish actually has a decent attack stat for an unevolved Pokemon. Those claws don't mess around, but Ash sends out Corphish specifically to counter Arcanine, who has a great defensive spread. Also, all water moves were special in Gen 3, which is when this battle takes place, and Corphish's 50 base special attack isn't putting a lot of oomph behind those crab hammers. And even if this was post-Gen 4, when Corphish could take advantage of its superior attack stat with its physical water moves, its attack would still be cut by Arcanine's Intimidate ability. And yeah, water moves won't be very effective against Corphish, but its special defense and HP aren't exactly ideal to take hits from a Swampert that isn't gonna go down very easily to a Swellow. And that's assuming that Swampert will only use water moves, which is probably not the case. There are some obvious picks that Ash should have made over these two, but we can talk about those later.
Swallow quick attack on Swampert now!
So quick attack is whatever, I guess. Swellow is already faster than everything else here, so going for something like Return or Double Edge would have made more sense to do much more damage.
Do you have any idea how fast I am?
But it is absolutely hilarious that Tucker counters with an Extreme Speed, an almost complete upgrade over Quick Attack. So even if Ash follows up with a stronger move, Arcanine is gonna outspeed it anyway. Not good for our Plot Armor King.
Extreme Speed's the same too. Whichever Pokemon is the fastest has the first attack.
Quick side note, this is not actually true nowadays. Extreme Speed will always move before Quick Attack. But at the time, yeah, Brock is right here. So obviously, Extreme Speed does a lot more to Swellow than Quick Attack does to Arcanine. Looking at the calcs, yeah, Swellow is in trouble. And just to clarify, these calcs are just using base stats with a hardy nature since we have no idea what kind of sets these two are running. And before you comment that that is nitpicky and using calcs is reading too deep into it,
Yes, I know that.
Ash decides to have Corphish fire off a Bubble Beam to try and combat the Arcanine. In response, Tucker has Swampert take the hit instead so that Arcanine doesn't take any super effective damage. Yeah, you can't just force your opponent to attack your other Pokemon like this without using specific moves or abilities to do so. But could you imagine how insane it would be if you could just freely redirect attacks at will? That would be kind of cool, actually. But whatever, sure, if you have this magical ability to redirect any attack you want, then it does make the most sense for Swampert to take it instead. Even though it won't be a resisted hit due to Swampert's ground typing, Bubble Beam will still do significantly less damage to Swampert than it would to Arcanine. But hey, I guess that doesn't matter, because Swampert is also able to use Protect after redirecting? So what, it uses Follow Me and then Protect? 2 moves in a row?
But that would be cheating.
Who does Tucker think he is? Ash?
I'm just goofing. New boot goofing.
Okay, Swallow, use Aerial Ace!
Finally a brave challenger with some bold ideas.
It's Aerial Ace, dude. There's no need to glaze. So to counter Swellow's Aerial Ace, Tucker orders his Arcanine to also use Aerial Ace. Just to stunt on Ash, I guess.
Got him.
Swellow takes some more damage from this, and Ash commands Corphish to use Vice Grip.
It's grippy.
This is a painfully mid-normal type move. Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with Vice Grip. It just has a really unimpressive 55 base power. It's simply gonna bounce off of Arcanine. You gotta keep in mind, Arcanine was Incineroar before Incineroar was a thing, and Incineroar is arguably the most overpowered Pokemon of all time. Now, Arcanine isn't that broken, but still, this should illustrate how useless this weak physical move would be against it. But either way, this attack doesn't even land, despite having 100% accuracy. This goes without saying, but dodging isn't a thing in the games. Yeah, you cannot just arbitrarily dodge 100% accurate moves outside of using accuracy changing effects or some weird affection mechanics in the main story of newer games. But whatever the case, Arcanine avoids Vice Grip and Swampert hits Corphish with a Mud Shot. Ash is not doing so hot. He doesn't really have a chance. Clearly, he should have brought different Pokemon. It would be really stupid if he won this battle. After some silly dialogue of this guy glazing Tucker, Swellow and Corfish ready themselves for another beatdown, their health bars no doubt too low to last much longer. Swampert fires a water gun, which is a very weak move. Like, you seriously couldn't use muddy water or something? Corfish and Swellow both dodge it, despite the fact the water gun has 100% accuracy and would also only hit one target anyway. But whatever, Corfish winds up a Crab Hammer, which would be a pretty good move if this was a generation later. For some reason, this move targets Swampert.
Okay.
You know, the one who isn't a fire type. Not that it matters, because Swampert meets that Crab Hammer with a Dynamic Punch. In Gen 3, these moves are not even. Dynamic Punch would definitely do more damage, if it ever landed. Yeah, Dynamic Punch has an accuracy of 50%. Now, that doesn't mean it's a coin flip. I mean, it does, but anyone who plays Pokemon knows that is not truly the case. Moves with 80% accuracy seemingly miss more than they land, so 50% is pretty much unusable outside of some pretty specific circumstances. Even with a great 100 base power and a 100% confusion chance, this is an insane gamble that somehow works in Tucker's favor. I am starting to think that this guy is cheating. Following this insane play, Tucker has his Arcanine use Flamethrower on Ash's Swellow after Ash tells it to use Peck. Don't use Peck. But Swellow is able to dodge this by using Double Team. I mean, if we pretend that Peck never happened and Swellow actually used Double Team before Flamethrower, then yeah, it actually is possible to dodge it in this context. Good job. I mean, you're scum for using Double Team, but whatever, good job, I guess.
Clever! You think you're trying to confuse us, don't you?
No, if Ash was doing that, then he would have used a move that causes confusion. Duh. So Tucker, the master tactician that he is, decides to use Fire Blast after missing a Flamethrower due to Double Team.
Clever! You think you're trying to confuse us, don't you? But those tricks don't work here. Arcanine! Fire Blast!
Dude, what? Tucker is cheating. Bro said, never mind, use Fire Blast instead. You can't do that. Get this man a rulebook.
Stop!
Swellow dodges the Fire Blast, which actually is possible. Then Swampert starts to, collect the moisture from the air to turn it into some unique water attack. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like a pretty sick move, so we'll cross that bridge in a second. Ash commands his Swellow to use another quick attack, which is once again matched by Arcanine's extreme speed. At this point, Swellow would surely be knocked out. It just does not have the health or defense for this. While this is going on, Ash tells Corfish to attack Swampert with Crab Hammer. Ash, you know you can double up into one Pokemon, right? I mean, you could pretty easily take out Arcanine right now, but I guess this is what we're doing. And now we get to see what this, quote, amazing, powerful water attack is.
Now, Swampert! Water Pulse!
Water Pulse? It's just Water Pulse.
In my opinion, that sucked.
This is only like a step up from Water Gun. Why did he make such a big deal about this move? It can confuse though, I guess. I mean, there's that. So Swampert launches his incredible Water Pulse. But this is Water Pulse in name only. First of all, this is clearly supposed to be more like Whirlpool. It traps both Swellow and Corfish, and Water Pulse does not trap. But neither Water Pulse nor Whirlpool can hit both targets at once, so once again, Tucker's cheating. Arcanine follows up this nonsense with a Fire Blast that also traps Swellow and Corfish. So it's like Fire Spin, but it hits both targets, which Fire Spin can't do. Now, I'll admit, this looks cool, but it's also not how any of these moves work. So fusion moves actually do kind of exist nowadays, in two different ways. Flying Press is a move that does both fighting and flying type damage. Freeze Dry is kinda like an ice and electric move because it also does super effective damage against water types. There is also the Pledge moves, Fire Pledge, Grass Pledge, and Water Pledge. When used in combination with each other in double battles, they have various effects, which is honestly very similar to this. So Tucker wins! That's nothing to be ashamed of though, Ash. Even the strongest Pokemon couldn't withstand that insane fusion attack. You should be proud that despite your Pokemon being so weak, they even lasted. They're fine. They got up. I mean, how? Literally how? Is Ash secretly using hyper potions because he didn't train well enough? So Swampert and Arcanine attack with a water gun and a flamethrower respectively because I guess Ash just doesn't get a turn yet, but somehow Corphish uses Bubble Beam to stop both attacks.
No.
Okay, even with anime logic, how does this weak little crawfish block attacks from two much more powerful, fully evolved Pokemon at the same time? Is Corphish just in the top percentile of Corphish or something? And I can't even understand what happens next. Swampert goes for a dynamic punch against Corphish, but Swellow tries to stop it by using Quick Attack. We already established that you can't just stop attacks with other attacks like this, but whatever. What's weird is that Arcanine uses Extreme Speed again to counter Swellow, but then Swellow uses Double Team, causing Swampert and Arcanine to hit each other, but how? I'm not just asking this because it doesn't make sense from a gameplay perspective, it doesn't make sense from a physical perspective either. Swampert goes to punch Corphish, so Swellow attacks to stop it. Sure, that's fine in this anime context. Arcanine attacking Swellow to stop its attack makes sense too, but when Swellow uses Double Team, how does Arcanine hit Swampert? I guess Arcanine was coming from behind, but wouldn't that just knock Swellow into Swampert anyway?
Ash used Quick Attack to increase the speed of Swellow's Double Team.
No, that doesn't. Anyway, Arcanine uses Fire Blast again, which is countered by Bubble Beam, while riding Swellow for some reason, I guess. Obviously, you can't do this, but also, Bubble Beam is a significantly weaker attack than Fire Blast, so Fire Blast should just go right through it. This counterplay causes steam to cover the battlefield in fog? What? This supposedly makes it harder for Swampert and Arcanine to see, but this doesn't actually mean anything because they end up seeing the attack anyway. What was the point of this? Also, we're getting dangerously close to Yu-Gi-Oh! Destroy the Moon territory. Like, this is just insane. In any case, ultimately what happens is Swellow and Corphish attack Swampert and Arcanine with an Aerial Ace and a Crab Hammer, respectively. I mean, at least Ash had them hit the right type matchups this time. Surely these weak attacks will be easily brushed off by such strong defensive Pokemon considering what Swellow and Corphish survived. Right?
Arcanine and Swampert cannot continue. The Battle Dome competition winner is Ash of Palatown.
Yeah!
Yeah, no. How do they, what? There's just no way. First of all, Corphish and Swellow would be long fainted by this point. Second, Arcanine has been hit by what, 2 quick attacks? 2 quick attacks and a Crab Hammer from a Corphish would not knock out an Arcanine. Swampert has also been barely damaged this whole time, so an Aerial Ace certainly wouldn't take it down. But Ash, Lord of Plot Armor, takes home the W anyway. What a load. Let's take a quick look to see what Ash should do in his rematch, since this win was clearly a figment of his imagination and or a fever dream. Swellow and Corphish versus these two just is not gonna work out. Don't even bother. If you were determined to use them, then you could do some solid damage with a Double Edge from Swellow, or even a Facade if Swellow gets burned by Flamethrower and survives since it has the Guts ability, increasing Swellow's attack when it is affected by a status condition, like Burn, Poison, or Paralysis. Corphish just ain't doing a thing, if we're being honest. If it's lucky, it'll do maybe half health to Arcanine before going down to 1 or 2 hits. But who should he have used? I think this is pretty obvious. Grovyle and Donphan. At this point, Grovyle hadn't evolved yet, but even unevolved, a Leaf Blade would have a very good chance of one-shotting Swampert and would definitely outspeed it. Obviously, the problem with this is Arcanine. Like I said, we don't know the EVs of these Pokemon, but as far as base stats go, Grovyle and Arcanine have a speed tie. So it really depends on who goes first here. If Grovyle goes first, it would at minimum get very close to knocking out Swampert. Donphan uses Earthquake, which has a very high probability of one-shotting Arcanine.
See you later, Stinky.
This would also, of course, finish off Swampert.
See you later.
So this is all pretty dependent on luck, which is pretty par for the course when it comes to Pokemon.
Oh my god!
So the ideal situation is that Grovyle outspeeds and one-shots Swampert or brings it to very low health. Arcanine would likely knock out Grovyle in one shot, like there's pretty much no way it wouldn't. Swampert could knock out Donphan with a Hydro Pump, but if it misses, it's game over. Earthquake would 100% finish off Swampert and would almost certainly one-shot Arcanine. Give Donphan a Choice Band, which did exist in Gen 3, and it would 100% finish off both. Honestly, there's not really much else Ash could do, and this isn't even a foolproof plan. If Grovyle gets unlucky, it gets outsped and one-shotted by Arcanine like we said. But even if Grovyle goes first, there's a small chance that Swampert can survive. If it does, then Swampert and Arcanine could double up into Donphan before it can even attack, leaving Grovyle alone and unable to do anything to Arcanine. And just as a quick side note, yes, Swampert could in fact one-shot Donphan despite the Sturdy ability. Yes, Donphan did have the Sturdy ability in Gen 3, but it works differently in that generation. It only protects Donphan from one-hit KO moves like Guillotine and Horn Drill. It wasn't until Gen 5 that it started acting like a Focus Sash. All of this is to say that it's basically up to luck, but that's better than using a normal bird and a crawfish, so whatever, I'll take it. So that is my opinion on how Ash could have actually won this battle. If you disagree or if you have a better idea, then let me know in the comments. If you think this video idea is pointless, I know. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe, look both ways before you cross the street, all of that good stuff. But regardless, see ya in the next one.